What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, lightweight, rising, superstar, contender, Vergil Ortiz, 16-0, 16 by way of knockout. Just recently won the fight against Samuel Vargas by 7th round stoppage victory. Immediately following the fight, Vergil Ortiz called out, said that he's ready for undefeated, unified WBC, IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr., who is a fellow native of Texas. And he called out and said that if he had a choice of his next fight, he would love to fight former unified IBF, WBA, WBA, WBC welterweight world champion Keith one-time Thurman, and or former two-division world champion, former unified junior welterweight world champion, and former welterweight world WBC champion Danny Swift Garcia. Obviously, we know Danny Garcia and Errol Spence Jr. seem to be on a collision course. So they'll offset and disqualify one another from his list of next opponents. With that said, he made mention of Keith one-time Thurman. And Keith Thurman held the WBA and the WBC welterweight world champions title. He was unified, right, at welterweight. And he said he wanted to face Keith Thurman. He would love to face Keith Thurman. He said he know he's in a division full of lions. He knows that it's a tough division, but he wants to test himself. He says he's in the right division. So he wants to face Keith Thurman. With that said, he didn't put up a post saying that, there was a picture somebody put up of Vergil Ortiz and Keith Thurman. His promoter, former legendary 6th division world champion, 10-time world champion, Oscar the Golden Boy De La Hoya, who's his promoter and CEO of Golden Boy Promotions, who promotes Vergil Ortiz. Oscar De La Hoya chimed in to this picture and this post, and he says it will not happen because Keith Thurman and his team, Al Haymon, will not allow this to happen. They will never put Keith Thurman in the ring with a guy like Vergil Ortiz and one of my guys. He says, I got a lot of respect for Keith Thurman, but that will never happen. They will never allow Keith Thurman to step in the ring with a guy like Vergil Ortiz. So Oscar De La Hoya is saying that the fight between Keith Thurman and Vergil Ortiz is not possible because Al Haymon won't allow it. He says that, he's insinuating that Vergil Ortiz is too much of a tough opponent, too much of a tough out, and they won't allow this. They won't sign off on this, right? Well, Keith Thurman did face guys like, Josito Lopez. He did face guys like Manny Pacquiao, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. So Keith Thurman has fought rough, rugged, tough former world champions in his career. So in his last fight, he fought Manny Pacquiao. Fight before that, it was Josito Lopez. Before that, Danny Garcia. Before that, Sean Porter. So I find it difficult to believe that they won't sign off for Vergil Ortiz, who's only had 16 fights. Now, he does display a lot of power. He does display a lot of upside. And he does display a bright future. But with that said, it's nothing Keith Thurman hadn't seen before, right? Keith Thurman's been in there, like I said, with Josito Lopez, who's very, very tricky, has a lot of power. He's been in there with guys like Luis Collazo. He's been in there with rough, rugged guys, that test him to the body. He's been in there with Sean Porter, who's aggressive and, and don't give you an opportunity to, get a break. He's been in there with guys like Danny Garcia, who's a power puncher and far more accomplished, is what I'm trying to get at. Keith Thurman has been in there with guys that are far more accomplished, that are still at the height of their career currently right now. hence the name Danny Garcia, who Vergil Ortiz mentioned as a possible opponent for himself. So to say that, they won't allow this fight, I believe that it's more so Oscar De La Hoya is not willing to make this fight. Because I think that Oscar De La Hoya may be feeling like maybe Vergil Ortiz at this point in time is biting off a little more than he can chew, calling out guys like Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman, yes, he did lose to Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is an 8-division world champion. Manny Pacquiao is a legend in the sport. Yes, he's currently the WBA champion because he beat Keith Thurman for the WBA title. But Manny Pacquiao, like I said, has been in the ring with the best of the best. When you talk about current resumes, there is nobody in the sport currently active that has a better resume than Manny Pacquiao, win, lose, or draw. Okay, so to lose to Manny Pacquiao is nothing to sneeze at. Okay, that's nothing to hang your head on. Okay, so with that said, Keith Thurman, that's the only loss in his career. Now, he did look vulnerable in the Josito Lopez fight. He did look vulnerable in the Luis Colazo fight when he got hurt to the body. He did end up in very, very close fights with Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. But listen, that's nothing for Keith Thurman to hang his head down. He won those fights, right? So you put Keith Thurman in there with a Vergil Ortiz, and Vergil Ortiz could run the risk of getting a boxing lesson. Keith Thurman is still a very, very high level intellectual boxer. He is a lot of tricks up his sleeve, a lot of experience. He's very athletic. He's very elusive. He has a very great jab, and he still has power, right? Keith Thurman knows how to utilize the ring. Keith Thurman knows how to, close the distance when need be. Keith Thurman knows how to separate himself and get separation for himself if need be. Now, Vergil Ortiz being a power puncher, of course, everyone is going to say he's going to go to the body. He could hurt Keith Thurman, possibly knock out Keith Thurman. Of course, if Keith Thurman chooses to sit in the pocket. But Keith Thurman showed you when he fought Danny Garcia, who's pretty much his style is very, very similar to Vergil Ortiz's. Now, I must think Vergil Ortiz has a better jab than Danny Garcia. I don't know if it's better. It's stronger, a stronger jab than Danny Garcia, but that's arguable. That one could debate that, right? Because Danny Garcia has a very, very strong jab. Danny Garcia has very, very heavy hands, right? I would think that Danny Garcia definitely has more power in his left hook than Vergil Ortiz do. Vergil Ortiz is an accumulation puncher. He showed that against Sammy Vargas, who Sammy Vargas was just eating those punches, big punches, right? Danny Garcia, if he hits Sammy Vargas with that left hook, he's not going to stand there through 7 rounds, right? So I would say Danny Garcia has the edge and power over Vergil Ortiz. So with that said, it's nothing that Keith Thurman hasn't seen before. So I'm of the belief that it's Oscar De La Hoya that don't want this fight. That he prays that Al Haymon and Keith Thurman don't contact him about making that fight. Because then he would be backed into a corner and put one out of his 3 prized possessions under his stable in Golden Boy Promotion at risk, right? You got Vergil Ortiz, you have Ryan Garcia, and obviously 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Saul Canelo Alvarez, right? But do you want to put Vergil Ortiz in there with a guy like Keith Thurman with only 16 fights and not, a mega step-up fight? I don't believe that Oscar De La Hoya wants to go down that road, okay? So Oscar De La Hoya, in my opinion, is using a deflection tactic, placing the blame on Al Haymon and Keith Thurman already immediately out the gate before they could contact him, right? So he's trying to put this, stigma out there so that people could say, yep, see, Keith Thurman and Al Haymon, they don't want to fight, right? But I beg to differ because I think that Keith Thurman will beat Vergil Ortiz. Now, is there a chance Vergil Ortiz can beat Keith Thurman? Absolutely, because he's a heavy-handed guy. Keith Thurman is not the most active guy currently in the sport of boxing. He's coming off another injury, and he showed that he's vulnerable to the body. So with that said, Virgil Ortiz definitely has a heavy jab. He definitely has great body work, but he will have to pin Keith Thurman down to the ropes. And a lot of times Keith Thurman is smart enough to keep his back off the ropes. Now there is opportunities for him, but Keith Thurman will have these lapses and get caught on the ropes, where Virgil Ortiz can have the opportunity to tee off on his body. But for the most part, I believe that Keith Thurman will keep this fight in the center of the ring. I don't believe that Virgil Ortiz is quick enough or athletic enough to be able to, to be able to force Keith Thurman to fight in a back him up, to get him off his square and to force him, to fight on the ropes, or off the ropes, should I say, or out of the corner. I don't think that Virgil Ortiz is athletic or quick enough to do so. But like I said, when Keith Thurman has stamina issues, and if Keith Thurman allows himself to, and his back to be against the ropes, and allows himself to get caught in the corner, right, then, that's a whole nother ball game. I think Virgil Ortiz has the advantage there. But as far as the fight taking place in the center of the ring, there's no doubt in my mind that Keith Thurman has the edge in the center of the ring, because I do believe that Virgil Ortiz might be slightly quicker than Danny Garcia. Not much quicker, but slightly quicker than Danny Garcia. But like I said, Danny Garcia is a harder puncher. He sits down on his punches more, So I believe Keith Thurman, it's a 50-50 fight, but I'm going to favor Keith Thurman in that fight. He has more experience. He has the edge in athletic ability. He has the edge in, ring generalship, in my opinion. I saw in the case with Samuel Vargas and Virgil Ortiz, there was times where Sammy Vargas was getting him, to do what he wanted. It's just that he's not athletic enough, and he doesn't have the physical tools that Keith Thurman does to be able to, do what's necessary, to make the adjustments to capitalize on those traps that he was setting for Virgil Ortiz. You saw Virgil Ortiz's father at some point in time was getting frustrated and telling him, stop throwing the right hand over and over and over again. You're going to tire yourself out. You got to get back on the bike, use the jab. Samuel Vargas was slipping him, rolling the punches when he was on the ropes, and he hit Virgil Ortiz with about 4 or 5 straight uppercuts to the body. And Virgil Ortiz did not make the adjustment. That's what you cannot do when you're dealing with a Keith Thurman. So I giving Keith Thurman the edge in that fight. But that's all I got for y'all. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.